Welcome to another episode of Sitting Courtside. Today we have got a weekend of picks that you do not want to miss. Plus, we are going to be recapping some of the biggest games that you have already probably had. Some wild games, quite frankly. I think we've learned today and maybe the whole week that we know nothing about college basketball at this point. It is the most crazy year of the year, craziest time of the year. Sorry. Before we get into the season or the show, golly, I'm all over the place today. Check us out over on Happy Hippo Home Decor. You guys can get all of our gear there. Support us, support the people we love that love us. You can get sweatshirts, t-shirts, tumblers, anything and everything you need for the Christmas season. Go check it out. If you don't support us, at least support the shop and get everything you could ever need over there. And with that, let's start the show. Welcome to another episode of Sitting Courtside. Today is Friday. I think it's December 1st, right? November has 30 days. Okay, perfect.
You're right.
We've already been dealing for about the last 5 minutes with what we think is technical difficulties. So if we are behind by any means, quit watching this and just listen to it because the audio will be great and the video will be terrible. And we apologize in advance. We are just regular guys doing regular things. But it's been an exciting week of basketball, and that's what you're here for. Let's get into it.
Yep, this is a jam-packed episode. So like Jordan mentioned on the front end, we are going to recap what has been a wild week. Not a ton of games, but what did play out was pretty wild. So can't wait to go through that. And then we will give you picks Friday through Sunday. Usually it'd be Friday through Monday, but Monday's slate is absolutely terrible. So it'll just be picks Friday through Sunday. But let's get into the recap. What was probably the most impressive and biggest statement win of the week, at least in my opinion, was Kentucky. Number 12, Kentucky throttling number 8, Miami, 95-73. Game wasn't close the entire time. They shot 43% from three, 60% from the field. They forced Miami into 15 turnovers. And what was one of the most shocking stats that I saw is that Miami's starting point guard, shooting guard, and small forward combined for 11 total points and 7 turnovers. It was a masterclass in just domination by Kentucky. What do you think of that one?
So again, kudos to you. You had referenced Kentucky and that like you kind of wanted to see a little bit more last episode. They showed everything. And we had talked about it earlier in the year, like their guard play was tremendous. We didn't think it was going to be long-term. I think it might be long-term. Miami, sorry, I gave you a chance and you ruined it. I thought when I saw plus 8.5 on that line, that was a gimme line. I will say it was a sucker bet. And I did the man in the suit. I doubled down on what I thought and it backfired heavily. Yeah. Big Blue Nation, though. This might be the best team they've had since we've had the show.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, how good do you think this team can be when? Just imagine this. They have 3 7-footers coming along the way. They still don't have their centers. They have 3 7-footers that are all still not healthy.
This is a gambling show. So I'm going to give a gambling pick right now. I think you're a dunce if you don't at least sprinkle a national title for Kentucky at this point.
Yep.
Their guard play is tremendous. They just took out a top 15 team. Like Miami is no scrub. And if they're going to shoot 50% from three, which again, you can't call it a fluke now. They've been doing it. And they don't even have their full roster. That's a scary team. And yes, you can say Kansas has depth. They have the senior leadership. They have Dickinson. Dickinson's one guy. You can put 3 guys out there. Edey is one guy. You can put 3 guys out. Like Kentucky is a scary team if this is what they're going to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, they already played Kansas, and their tallest guy was 6'7", and they still had them down the majority of the game, and they lost by, I think, 6. Like, this Kentucky team, I hate to say it because I don't really like Calipari, but he has done one hell of a job because this team is so skilled.
If you're not going for them right now, actually, you know what? We're on the topic right now. What are they even at? I forget what. Wrong app.
What's their title?
Let's see what their title hopes are. And again, I said you're a dunce if you don't grab it. I haven't grabbed it yet because I wanted to hear your thoughts actually before I decided to be a dunce on it because you are the master of all. Let's see, team futures.
And I will say, if you were on Twitter during this game, Kentucky's fans are absolutely in love with Reed Sheppard coming off the bench. Everybody loves that guy.
So here you go. Kentucky is tied with Marquette for national title hopes at plus 1,500.
Oh, I love that.
Plus
1,500.
1,500. Michigan State's plus 2,000. That's the dumbest bet you can make on
Yeah,
earth.
don't even sprinkle any sprinkles on that.
No sprinkles on them, please.
All right, but I thought that was the most impressive, but I think maybe the most shocking because I didn't really believe in this team that much. Clemson gets a huge road win over number 23 Alabama, 85-77, moving Clemson to 7-0, headed into conference play. Clemson is now in the top 41 in both offense and defensive efficiency, according to KenPom. This team is basically a three-man team on offense, but they are all studs. Two guards, Hunter and Gerard, the guy from Syracuse, they're both shooting over 40% from three, and their center, 6'10", he's also shooting over 40% from three, and he's averaging 21-7. This team's legit. Clemson coming out of nowhere, but they're legit.
Clemson, I mean, we talked about it. They have been a team that has been very talented for several years now, and they only show up at home. Big road win against Alabama, and what might be the worst beat of the season thus far.
That, yeah.
The worst beat of the you told me about it, and I was thinking the same thing offline when you're like halftime. There was what I think a total of 67 points, 57
points.
Yeah.
65 points.
100 points nearly in the second half. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's unfair to go to bed thinking you have a winner and wake up a loser. And not even a close loser. Like you lost. That's terrible. But yeah, Clemson, they're for real. They might be a dark horse team you need to watch. I don't think they win the regular season in the ACC, but if they're going to play that way, they will definitely have a shot in the ACC tournament. And that's ultimately what matters at the end of the year. So good team. Alabama, I'm a little bit worried about more so, but you're an Alabama guy, not me. I'm more of a must-bust guy, but I'll let you talk about the Alabama piece.
Yeah, I mean, their offense was non-existent in that first half. Like, I know they scored, 32 points, but that's not Alabama. Alabama needs to put 40 up in every half. They could have missed in the second half, but when you're not playing any defense, it's really hard to win basketball games. They're missing that star. Like you mentioned last podcast, without Brandon Miller this year, they don't have the go-to star, so they don't have the late guy. In Clemson, they have three guys they can go to, so that was very apparent in this game. I'm going to back off Bama going too far now. Like they're probably like a Sweet 16 team at best now. They just don't have the star to get past that, in my opinion, as of right now.
I will say though, in a weird way, we'll see. I want to see what the books do with Alabama going forward because they seem like an automatic over pick no matter what. Because the over was dead, more than dead. Oh my!
Yeah.
Yikes! Did you just hear that?
I did hear that. Yeah.
My light is, I think, about to die on me. My camera light just, I think, flickered at me. I thought I was going to blow up. But yeah, Alabama, though, yeah, I like the over, I think, might be an auto pick all times because it was so dead, about as dead as the light bulb was about to be. And out of nowhere, they hit it. Like, it was insane. Insane.
And 159.5, that's a large over under to like be dead at halftime and still hit it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just wild.
Insane. I would have never thought you score 100 points and a half. Like, that's insane. It's an insane amount of points.
This next one hurts, but it's just outright true. Arkansas outplays Duke in every way on Wednesday night, winning 80-75. The final score was not nearly as close as, or doesn't actually represent the game. Arkansas outplayed them in every facet. Arkansas shot the lights out, 41% from three compared to 27% for Duke. Yet again, for the freshmen in a big matchup, they don't do anything. Filipkowski was in foul trouble in the first half, so they didn't get a first half lead because he was sitting for the last 8 minutes, and then became absolutely like a huge liability on defense in the second half, the first 8 minutes, because he didn't want to pick up that third foul. And that's when the game got lost, is when his guy just kept taking them to the basket. But man, this Duke team is building a reputation of when they have these big games, if they get down, they just don't have any fight to get back. Like you just know, once they get down in these games and the crowd's into it, they're just done. That's just what the Shire way has been the last 2 years.
So I won't comment on the game. I think I've made my point when I didn't put Duke in my top 10. So that's where I stand with them. But you as a Duke guy, let's focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at with the panic button? Is it still on the desk? Have you opened the drawer? Is the panic button out? Like you're thinking about touching it? Like where are we at with Duke right now? Because this is two really bad performances back to back against one trash team and a team that was basically on the ropes about to get knocked out.
So I know where the panic button is. I made sure that's within reaching distance. I got to move a little bit to actually hit it, but I know where it's at. Not hitting it yet. I know the ACC is pretty down, even though Clemson and North Carolina look good. We'll get to North Carolina. Not hitting it yet because it was a road game, their first true road game of the season. But I just don't like that they have like no chance of ever getting back into games when they're down. It's so frustrating as a Duke fan.
Yeah, they're like the Miami Dolphins of college basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What I will say, it ironically again is like both of our national title picks. I still feel good. I still feel good about it because again, they do have like the senior guard play. They have maybe the most well-rounded player in the country in Filipowski. Great talent. I do believe in Shire. I really just think that was a bad matchup with Arkansas, who has tremendous guard play, and the Must Bus is a top 3 coach in the country. Like he was going to have them ready for that game, especially at home, coming off of what just happened to them in those tournaments. So I don't take a ton of stock in what happened, because it is early. And you take a ton of stock on what's early, you're going to find yourself in a really bad spot later on. But I was just curious, as a Duke guy, what you were feeling. So again, I still have faith in them, but we'll see what happens as conference play starts up.
Yeah, and with Arkansas losing 3 or 4, and they basically promoted this game for a week, like to their student section and everything. It was basically like a mini Super Bowl for them, but still, the freshmen have to play better. The freshmen.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say, I was like, as I'm thinking about it, I think it was their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like if they don't win that game, they are dead. Like truly, they're dead. Where Duke, it's like, yes, it's a game, but Duke is Duke. They understand the significance. Going all out against Arkansas and what pretty much is a meaningless game, let's be honest. Like, who cares? If they go out, they win the ACC tournament, they're a top 3 seed, end of story. So,
All right, we'll try to get this going a little bit quicker since we've kind of taken a little long.
We're going.
We'll stay in the ACC. UNC gets a huge win over Tennessee, 192. Yes, you heard that. A game that featured Tennessee. The final score was 192. It was 61-39 at halftime. UNC crushed them in the first half. Tennessee got back in the second half. I don't know what happened to their defense, but just to put it in perspective, with this 100 points they allowed, they're still ranked 3rd in defensive efficiency. So they still have an elite defense. I honestly, I was at the Valpo basketball game, so I didn't get to watch this one. I just watched the scores. But what happened to their defense?
So I'm actually going to just very quickly, nothing to do with defense. Both teams just kind of shut the lights out of the ball. If you go to the box score, North Carolina shot 56%. I had it pulled up and the computer was going slow. 56% from 3. Both teams shot over 50% from the field. I don't care how good the defense is. When you shoot that well, there's going to be points, especially when you have top teams. So for me, I don't take anything on that. Like North Carolina had an excellent game. Tennessee, we've already talked about, they're not an offensive team. You're going to lose those style of games when the offense is just showing up that well. So for me, I'm honestly wiping this game clean. It was an anomaly for both teams. Neither of these teams are going to do that again. End of story.
All right, I like it. Move on to a game completely opposite of this one, of the UNC game. Virginia beats Texas A&M 59-47. Yes, 47 points. That's 59 points. It's even less than UNC scored in the first half. But Virginia, again, shut down another team with their defense. They have allowed 54, only have allowed more than 54 points twice this year. Good news for A&M. They got their big man Coleman back, and he was right back in the action with 16-14. But there's been a bit of an issue with this team. We've talked about Wade Taylor a decent amount this season. It's kind of been terrible so far. He had one huge game when Coleman got hurt, but for the year, he's shooting 25% from 3. That's down 11% from last year. And they're still missing their 3rd best player. He got hurt in that same game Coleman did, but Wade Taylor will need to play like the SEC Player of the Year like he was in the preseason if they're going to be an elite team.
Yeah, I've never heard of this team that Texas A&M played, but it was a little bit of a downside for me. A little bit of a downside that a top 10 team would go down against a team I've never heard of. So
yeah. The dead team. Yep, gotcha. And then I'll let you speak on this one. Out of absolutely nowhere,
I mean, do we have to bring it up? I don't get this team. Yep. They have maybe one of the top 10 resumes in the country, but also 2 of the worst losses I've ever seen. Yep. I don't get it. Like, I just blanked on his name. They treated like St. Joe's, like they had that point guard that used to play for the Orlando Magic forever. You know what I'm talking about?
Jameer Nelson.
Yeah, Jameer Nelson. I didn't realize Jameer Nelson was playing for St. Joe's again. Like Villanova. I'm so happy I didn't wear the jersey on on Tuesday now because I would have looked like a dunce, and that's where I'll end that. I don't know what they're a one-trick pony at this point. They're the same thing I've worried about with Purdue and with Kansas and all those other teams. Let's see what happens in Big East play. I'm at a loss for words. I like you talk about panic button. There's no panic button because that's how far down the road we are with this team. I don't know what to do.
I don't have too much to add to that. I mean, I didn't even look into the spread. I thought this was an easy win for them. So.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad.
Last game I have, just to recap, if you have any others, you can go ahead and throw them out. But this is another huge win for Colorado State. They beat Colorado at home, their rival, 88-83. And you had them in your top 10, I believe, last
I did. I had
podcast.
a number 5 or 6. They're there, buddy.
And that's Stevens, their best player that got hurt right before the Mountain West tournament last year. He's back. He is great, and this team is legit.
Yeah, they're excellent. I mean, we tried to bypass the Mountain West, which we never do. I'm just crossing fingers now they figure out a way to run the Mountain West. I'll even take a split with San Diego State because San Diego State is a very good team. If you've been watching anything on the efficiency model, like the XY axis, San Diego State is actually better than they were last year with that Final Four team. Yeah. I would love to see Colorado State continue that because it's going to make me look like a genius that I was on that bandwagon early.
Yeah, there you go. Any other games you wanted to hit before we go to our picks?
One thing I want to just call out really quickly, two things. One, it's already going to be finished up before this comes out, but I hope everyone got a chance to at least watch a little bit of FAU Liberty. Those are two teams that you definitely need to be on top of this year because they're both excellent. We've obviously talked a ton about FAU. Liberty is a very good quality basketball team. FAU handled them every step of the way. That just tells me that we are 100% right on FAU and that Bryant loss was 100% a fluke. Second, I'm going to just toot my own horn here for a second. I told everyone you need to be on the Ivy League. The Ivy League this week has been money, absolute money in the bank. I'm just going to throw it out there now. Monday night, Monday night. Columbia covered the -6. We've got the over in Cornell at 158.5. Not an Ivy League school, but the small schools. Oakland covers 6.5. UC Irvine covers 5.5. Just all the small schools. We talked about it early on. The riches are in those middle to lower tier D1 schools. You need to be on them. And if you're not on them, just follow our picks. Those are the winners. Those are the only things keeping me above water right now because it's been a bad couple of days. And that's the only thing keeping me going at this point. I've already dropped 2% from the last time we recorded.
Okay. I was just about to ask you, do you know your record as we go into our picks?
248 picks. I'm 134, 114. I'm 54%. I've got 18 plays tonight, by the way. It's a Tuesday night. I got 18 plays already to go. So if you didn't catch them, go over to Betting Pros. I'll drop the link on Twitter at some point. Just follow it. It's not hard. It's really not hard, guys. It's right there for you.
He's got so many picks. He called his picks for Thursday to Tuesday picks. So there you go.
Yeah, I can't even keep track of them all. That's how good. That's how much I love gambling.
Yeah. And so I'm at 65 and 51.
Oh, he's frozen.
Still at 56% than what it was.
You froze on me. What'd you say?
Can you see me? Can you hear me? I said I'm 65 and 51, still at 56%, but at a lower 56% than what we had last time.
Okay, that's fair. It's fair.
Okay.
Fine. You take the quality. I'll take the quantity.
Yes. And so with these picks coming up, we will have some lines. If we don't have a line, we'll still make a pick. And just kind of for you, if you don't like a line but you like the money line more, go ahead and pick whatever you think you're going to pick, like on Twitter, because like some of these lines are like -2.5, and I'll probably be leaning to picking money line instead of -2.5. But anyway, let's start with Friday, December 1st at 6:30 p.m. We have Houston, who is 7-0, number 6 ranked in the nation, at Xavier, who is 4-3. Xavier lost 3 of their last 5, including to Oakland earlier in this week that we mentioned in the last podcast. Houston's first in both net ranking and KenPom. Don't look at net ranking yet because that has very little stats to go behind it. But they also are first in KenPom. But this will be their first decent test. They're led by LJ Cryer. You might remember him because he was a transfer from from Baylor.
Yep.
This spread right now is at Houston -7.5, over under 138.5. That is a lot of points to give up on the
Yes.
road. I know they're very good at defense. I'm going to take Xavier though plus the 7.5 because that is so many points to give to a desperate team at home.
So this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm taking Houston minus 7.5. And
Okay.
this is my are they for real bet.
Okay.
If they're for real, they will cover the 7.5. Xavier's wheeling. They're supposed to be a top 5 team, top 6 team in the country. They need to cover that bet. Also, the total right now, as you look at it, you managed 138.5.
Yep.
Points bet. I think that's what it's called. Points bet
Yeah.
has them at 139. Okay. So
Okay.
if you love the total here as an under, go over there and take it. Right now, as it would appear, it looks like about 90% of the public is on the under. So
Okay.
take that for what it's worth. I'm not betting the total because I don't trust Houston, but I will at least trust them to cover the spread if they're for a real team. If they don't cover this, they're out of my top 10. I don't trust them anymore.
Okay.
And so
All right. And so
that's
you're
everyone's
using
warning right now for next Tuesday.
points, but I was looking at DraftKings. So if you have both accounts, go get. If you're going with the under, go over the points bet and get that one.
Yes, correct.
Yep. All right, 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. We have Maryland, who's 4-3 at 5-1. Indiana. This current spread is as of right now is IU -3 over under 138 on DraftKings. This is the start of the Big Ten play. A decent one to see, honestly, in my mind, are either of these teams good. That's just all I'm looking at. Maryland has their 3 best players back from last year, but they've struggled losing 3 or 4 to start this season. IU, though, we all know their biggest issue is the 3 ball.
Yes.
24%, yes, 24% on this season. But their size and athleticism keeps them in games against either same level teams or lesser teams. Who do you like here?
So I think these teams are fairly even. I'll be honest with you. This is a split for me. So I'm taking Indiana money line. It is minus 148 right now. So you're going to have to put at least 1.5 to 2 units on it. The public is on Maryland though. About 70% of the bets are going that way. But again, I just don't trust Maryland. Honestly, I really don't. And I don't trust Indiana. For the show, this I will give that pick, but I probably am staying off of this game for my own personal book.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm going to go with IU money line as well. I'm not going to give up the points just because I don't trust IU to keep a lead at the end of the game. But this is conference play. We all know how the Big Ten is. You have to cover your home court, and we all know IU is going to get to the free throw line 30 times at home. They're going to get the calls. I don't think Maryland's all that talented. IU has a lot of talent, just not a lot of good shooting. I'll take IU like you did.
Yeah. And I will say this as a guy that has basically grown up outside of Bloomington his entire life. Indiana is the number 1 home court advantage in the country. Everyone will try to say that it's Kansas. You're wrong. Kansas is only great whenever there's big games because they've been great for the last 30 years. Indiana has went through their ebbs and flows. That place is always rocking. Always. So as you mentioned, they will get the calls. They will get the free throws. Honestly, if there was a bet out there, you could do over under on the free throws. I'm going to go over under like 31.5 free throws for Indiana because they will far exceed that.
Yep. All right. The game of the year, 9 p.m. Friday night. I'm just going to say this out loud because I know she doesn't listen to the podcast. Jordan, who is Maggie's friend, having a wedding this weekend. Her name is Jordan. She's having a wedding, and her rehearsal dinner is this Friday night. So I will be missing this game. Just want to say that I'm a little upset with this. I know. Right?
This is where you do the what's the commercial where like, are you covered? Like the insurance guy, like you're the guy at the wedding rehearsal leaning back trying to watch the TV.
Exactly. But anyway, it's number 4 UConn, who's 7-0 at number 5 Kansas, who's 6-1. Right now, the spread is Kansas minus 2.5 over under 147.5. I already talked about this game last podcast. How I think it's an incredibly even matchup. But Kansas at home, I'm taking the home team that's just coming off a loss in Maui. I'm going to take actually the minus 2.5. I'm not even going to take the money line on the pod. It depends where this line goes to tomorrow when I end up betting this game. But on the pod, I'm taking the minus 2.5. But I really do think these two teams are incredibly evenly matched. Size, efficient offense, efficient defense. Great matchup. Hell of a game.
So I'm going to go under. I think these two teams come out with a little bit of adrenaline the first 5 to 7 minutes. And I think to hit this total, they've got to be shooting well and they've got to be ready to go. Two completely poised teams, don't get me wrong. But like I've said it earlier this week, like this is a pre-national title game potentially. And I just think this early on, the adrenaline is going to be there. Kansas at home, really their first big game at home, not on a neutral court. I just feel like there's going to be a lot going on in that atmosphere. The first 7 to 8 minutes are going to be sloppy, and it's going to be tough to hit this over. So I'm going to go under in this game.
And just a couple stats to back that. Actually, UConn is the slower tempo by far, if you according to Ken Palm, and Kansas is the more efficient defense. So if those two things work together like they have been, that's a nice under right there.
There you go.
Saturday, December 2nd, we have at 12:30 p.m. number 3 Marquette, who is 6-1 at Wisconsin, who is 5-2. Wisconsin has rattled 4 off after a 1-2 start, including wins over Virginia and SMU at home. Marquette top 14 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. Wisconsin has the size advantage here, but Marquette obviously the much more skilled and better shooting team. Who do you like?
I'm taking Marquette. I don't care what the spread is.
Yeah, that's
This is a
sad. We don't
no-brainer
have
for
a
me.
spread out, but yeah, I like that.
Honestly, too, like I know Virginia Wisconsin played that horrid game that we had to watch the other day for the over under. If we get anything around like 134 because Wisconsin's garbage, I'm hammering the over too.
Yeah.
Marquette will run the tempo of this game. They will easily score 80 points in this game. I'm taking Marquette.
Yeah. I will have to see the spread here because if it's like 7 or 6 on the road, I might go away from that. But what you said there at the end is what I'll be doing. I'll be taking the over because in every game that they played, Wisconsin's played that wasn't Virginia, the games have been all over 130. So I think, especially with how fast Marquette plays, I think it'll be a low 130s over under, and I will be hammering that over with Marquette being the team that just basically does most of the work on their own.
Yep.
All right, let's move to 2 p.m. on Saturday. Memphis, who's 5-1 at Ole Miss, who is 6-0. Ole Miss got a huge home win on Tuesday, winning by 20 against NC State, their first quality win of the season. Memphis has really played well before their most recent loss to Nova. Ole Miss plays one of the shortest rotations in all of the nation. Only 6 players see double-digit minutes, while Memphis plays 10 players that have double-digit minutes. That's where I think this one's different. I hate to take the road team this early in the season, but I think Memphis is actually a lot more talented than Ole Miss. I don't think that NC State team that Ole Miss beat is actually any good. They just had an easy schedule. So I'll take Memphis even though they're on the road, which will be a very small spread too.
Yes, I think it's going to be close to 2.5 for Memphis, and I will gladly take this up to 6.5. Memphis by far the better team, not even close. I think Ole Miss is a little bit of a fraud. They've done this 2 years in a row. They come out, they look great. You think they're good. They get into SEC play, and they're trash. They're playing a quality Memphis team. They're not up to that competition yet. They're just not. So hammering Memphis. Hammering
it. All right, 4 p.m. Saturday. Number 24, Illinois, who is 5-1 at Rutgers, who is, I said 5-1. Are they 6-0? That might be 6-0.
No, they lost.
They're 5-1, yes.
Yep.
So we don't know much about this Rutgers team due to their lack of schedule, but we do know what they are always every year, a very good defensive team, and it's always hard to win in their building. Illinois, though, they're a top 15 defense so far this season, and of course they play an up-tempo offense. Do you think Rutgers can actually get a big win here at home in the very first conference game, or do you think Illinois goes in there and rolls them?
I think, to quote a delusional man in Lee Corso, it's going to be closer than the experts think. Okay. I do think Rutgers covers this spread in the Jimmy John's Dome. Oh, is it Jimmy John's? No, not Jimmy John's.
Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike's Dome. There we go. I was like, wait, it's not the right one. The Jersey Mike's Dome. I don't think they win, though. Like, if this is a spread, like if this spread gets to like 5, 6, 7, I'm taking Rutgers. They are a completely different team at home every single year. Take Rutgers at home if it's anything in that range.
Yeah, so I think the only chance Rutgers wins this game is if they slow the game so slow, which they have a tendency to do. So if this game has got like a 135 or more, I'll take the under. If not, I'm probably going to stay away. But if I have to pick one-sider or not on this, I'll go with the under and just bank on Vegas looks at it and they lean more to Illinois than Rutgers, and it's higher than what I expect it to be.
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
All right, 10 p.m. Saturday night during the post-wedding party. So I'll be like looking at this underneath the table too. USC, who is 5-2 versus number 11 Gonzaga, who is 5-1. Just to let you guys know, since we did talk about injuries last pod, USC played on Wednesday night, and all 4 of their players who have missed games so far this season were playing, including Boogie Ellis. So they should have a fully healthy team going into this one. Gonzaga, though, they played a much better schedule and has had much more success than against that quality than USC has in any of the quality games they played. If USC wants to win this game, Boogie Ellis is going to need to play elite. He already has for most of the season. He's hit 48% of his threes, and he shoots at least 8 per game. So I think he's going to need to do that and more to beat Gonzaga. It's probably I'm going to take. I want USC to win, but I know they're going to be underdogs. So for just to use my brain and not my heart, I'm going to take them plus the points. But I really want to sprinkle a little bit on the money line as well.
Oh, that for you. I'm gonna lean over.
Okay.
Gonzaga is always a top 3 team in offensive pace.
Yeah.
However, I want to preface this because I do think these are 2 teams that are going to run up and down quite a bit, and this is the biggest game USC has had in ever. And I mentioned that on Tuesday. If this total exceeds about one, I'm going back and forth right now, 166.5. If it exceeds that total, I'm going under. But really, anything around that number, I think it falls closer to 164. To be honest, I'm going to take the over. These teams are going to they're going to run up and down, 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 up and down. So I'm going to hammer the over for that reason. But again, I get scared we get closer to the 170 number.
Yeah. All right, last game that I have on the schedule for at least the big games is Sunday, December 3rd. And honestly, it's just because I couldn't find anything else on Sunday or Monday, so I had to pick one game. It's at 4 p.m. on Sunday during football, so good luck if you watch it. Number 15, Creighton, who's 5-1, at Nebraska, who is 7-0. If you think Houston's 7-0 is hollow, just take a look at Nebraska's. Yes. They have the 350th hardest schedule, and there's only 363 teams, so they play nobody. That being said, they do have 4 guys averaging over 14 points or more. Creighton, now, they have just about every other advantage outside of being the road team. They shoot 39% from 3, 5 guys who shoot 40% or better from 3, much more efficient on both defense, offense, and have a huge height advantage. So I think Creighton beats Nebraska, but if the spread's like 8.5 or 9.5, I might actually lean Nebraska, but I don't know the spread. So
I'm going to go. This is a double-digit spread. This is a double-digit spread. Okay. Creighton's going to humble Nebraska because this is what Nebraska always does every year. Take Creighton. I don't care what the spread is, quite frankly. We go 22.5. I'm taking Creighton.
Oh, okay.
Nebraska is not a good team. They're never a good team. So end of story.
All right. So that's just the whole list that I have. We have 1:30. Do you have any other picks you want to give out?
I just want to throw. I want to throw a couple out there for everyone to be aware of. Charleston, College of Charleston is going to play Liberty tomorrow. I'm going to take them at -6.5. Bryant and Brown are going to play each other. Bryant is currently a dog on the road. You need to hammer that number. And for sakes, George Washington, South Carolina. South Carolina is 6-0. George Washington 6-1. George Washington's getting 9.5 on the road. I am taking that with all of my life. Those are the ones I'm going to highlight very quickly.
All right. Go follow us on Twitter. I'm at Kyle Cliffy. He is at MingoMade1. All of our official picks will be there on Twitter. So obviously we give you out some of these big games, but go follow Twitter. You get all the winners there. And we'll be back next Tuesday recapping the weekend and talking about the conference games that did happen over the weekend. And have a great betting weekend.
Love you guys.